Canada's labour productivity growth has been slowing for many years. And former Bank of Canada Governor David Dodge says that the answer to this growing issue is a structural transformation. One area where Canada lags behind its peers is in its investment in research and development, or R&D, which is a key factor in boosting productivity growth. In 2022, Canadian firms spent 1.6% of GDP on R&D, which is less than half of American spending for the same year. Economics associate professor Mark Rempel from U of T says that low investment in R&D, quote, slows the discovery of better ways of doing things, which directly translates to slower productivity growth. Joining us now to discuss Canada's decline in productivity and prosperity is Fin DePencier, a journalist from Canadian Affairs who wrote an article published today on this very topic. Mr. DePencier, welcome back to Forum Daily.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Julie.
What would you account for Canada's labour productivity falling over the past 12 or 13 quarters?
Well, there's many factors that are contributing to it, but the main argument that Mr. Dodge and his colleagues have made in this report is that Canadian companies simply aren't making the requisite investments in research and development to be competitive globally. And without those investments, our companies aren't innovating. And if they're not innovating, then we're not producing these innovative products and services of the 21st century. We have a lot of domestic capital going abroad to firms who are producing these innovative products and services. Now, Canadian universities are on the forefront of a lot of innovative research. In AI, for example, we have some great researchers at the University of Toronto, but we do a very poor job of commercializing those products. And so even when research is done in Canada, the economic benefits of that isn't often seen within our borders because American companies end up commercializing it.
So, how has the loss of some companies, such as BlackBerry and Nortel, impacted productivity growth in Canada?
Yeah, so the first thing is that the demise of those companies led to significant job losses and a depletion of skilled labor. So a lot of the engineers who used to work for Nortel and BlackBerry, they're in Silicon Valley or New York right now, working for Oracle or Google or some innovative financial technology company. And if you think about somebody who's a recent graduate from a top Canadian university in computer science or engineering or finance, it might be much more attractive to take a job offering at Google and move to San Francisco rather than work for some technology startup in Toronto, which will eventually end up being acquired by Google in the long run anyway. And so without these these homegrown technology winners, we just don't have the innovative capacity that we used to. And the failure of those companies has been much bigger than any notable success stories. We have Shopify, but generally speaking, we're not doing too well.
Now, you wrote that one of the ways Canada is falling behind in productivity spending is with intangible assets. Could you elaborate on this?
Yeah, so in my reporting, I discovered that in 1973, the value of intangibles on the S&P 500 was about 17%. Fast forward to 2020, and 90% of the value of the S&P 500 was intangible assets. And so that could be customer data or patents. Meanwhile, in Canada, the value of intangibles on the TSX is around 70%. So we're not producing as much, as many valuable intangible assets as the United States and other countries in Europe. And as Benjamin Bergeon told me, he's president of the Canadian Council of Innovators, the Canadian business community and more so policymakers just haven't recognized that the way prosperity is generated has changed. And it's very much about producing valuable and tangible assets now.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Julie.